Hi Year 7, welcome to this 10th video of the series of lessons on Gothic literature. Today again we're looking at ghost stories, but instead of looking at Turning of the Screw, we're looking at M.R. James's number 13. So the first activity I would like you to do is just going to get us into the mood of ghost stories. So let's have a look at the word uncanny. So uncanny is our word of the day. This is an oxymoronic psychological concept described by Freud as something that is strangely familiar. So that probably sounds a bit confusing to you, as it does to me in a way. So let's look at some synonyms to try and make it a bit more clear. So other words for uncanny would be unsettling, inexplicable, so unexplainable, extraordinary, or supernatural. So now that we've got that word, we're now going to have a look at a summary of number 13. So, while researching church history in Denmark, in particular the events of the Reformation, the narrator's cousin stays in a Danish inn. While staying in room number 12, he notices that his room seems to be growing smaller and his furniture sometimes vanishes. After hearing dancing next door, he assumes it comes from number 13. However, upon discussing this matter with the innkeeper, he learns that there is no number 13. He asks the innkeeper to visit his room at night. While talking, the main character and the innkeeper hear ominous singing in the room next door. They check number 14, but learn that its occupant thought it was them. Then they find the non-existent door to number 13. A clawed hand attacks them, and they attempt to break down the door, but break through the plaster wall. The occupants of number 12 and 14 spend the night in a double-bedded room. The narrator meets his cousin a few months later and relates the tale to him. Interesting. Okay, so that's what happens in number 13. Now let's have a look at the actual extract of the story. So it begins. Among the towns of Jutland Viborg, Justly holds a high place. It is the seat of a bishopric. It has a handsome but almost entirely new cathedral, a charming garden, a lake of great beauty, and many storks. Near its hold are counted one of the prettiest things in Denmark, and hard by its Finderup, where Stig murdered King Eric Clipping on St. Celia's Day in the year 1286. 56 blows of square-headed iron maces were traced in Eric's skull when his tomb was opened in the 17th century, but I am not writing a guidebook. There are good hotels in Viborg. Priestlers and the Phoenix are all that can be desired, but my cousin, whose experiences I have to tell you now, went to the Golden Lion the first time that he visited Viborg. He has not been there since, and the following pages will perhaps explain the reason of his abstention. Right, okay, 3 questions I want you to answer. Well, 2 questions. One is what impression are we given of Viborg, which is a town in Denmark. Second question, from whose perspective is the story told, and do you think that this is an effective form of narration? Now, if you are a bronze or red flight path, what I'd like you to do is research number 13 a bit more and tell me 2 things which you find interesting about what happens later in the story. Okay, so that's your challenge today. Thank you for listening. Good luck. Any questions, let me know.